Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of Industry, a podcast where I talk about nonsense in the comfort of my childhood bedroom. I have re-recorded this episode 13 times. And honestly, this is the last one. Whatever comes out this time, that's what's coming out. I did want to start this episode off on a positive note. I wanted to start off with a little joke, a little antidote for the week. And I was super excited to come on here, but I actually need to address some things. First of all, last week's episode, I talked about abortion and it got a lot more views than I was expecting, which makes sense because that is a hot button issue, something that's being talked about especially a lot right now because elections are coming up, but also just because there are so many laws being put into place right now, especially in the South. And it's just very interesting. A lot of people, it got a little, not even a little nasty. It got a bit hateful in the comments last week. It did. And not like, oh, somebody's going to run me off the internet because I would never let somebody run me off the internet for things that I believe in. First of all, that's one. But two, it was just weird. And it was mostly men. Actually, it was all men. But again, I'm not going to say I'm a man hater, but this was the perfect example of why. This was one of those things where it was girl, it was one of those things where it was also I'm just really worried about America. There are some days that I'm really hopeful that there will come a day where we won't be so divided and we won't feel such a big need to label everything and be everything doesn't have to be an argument. But every single day, it's it gets worse. And even outside of politics, outside of moral, ethical arguments or whatever, it just, the way that people act, the way that people will have a full-on debate about something on Twitter, in the Black diaspora, or even not even just the Black diaspora. People, the way people will get nasty about debates about sports and all of this stuff. And I'm just I don't it never feels like we can have a healthy conversation. You can find different groups of people who can have diverse conversations and have good debates and arguments, I guess, without it getting to such a personal level of being hateful. But it's really bad. It's really bad right now. And that's something that it's not that I didn't know that already, but damn, I have people in my comments telling me that I'm disgusting and I should be ashamed of myself and I might as well just stop talking, and it doesn't take 47 minutes or it doesn't take an hour and 40 minutes to say that abortion is bad. I'm going to tell you right now, I stand 10 toes down on what I said about abortion and it being pro-choice. That's one. I think the argument between pro-life and pro-choice is non-existent. It's honestly doesn't exist to me because I don't see it as an argument. To me, nobody should be able to tell a woman what she can and can't do with her body. Plain and simple. What somebody else has going on with themselves has nothing to do with me. It's I don't understand, the same way that I don't understand why people are homophobic. It's literally you don't have to be with the person, so why do you care? Why do you care who I'm going home to at night? Why do you care who I'm holding hands with when I'm going to the mall or going to the movies or something or going out to dinner? Why do you care? Girl, it's not you. So what's the problem? And this is another thing, especially men. If you're a man, you actually have no business in my business. Actually. And don't be a white man, because you absolutely have no business in my Black business, in my Black woman business. And actually, if you're a Black man too, you have just men in general already. For women, you don't belong in our business. If you're any race that's not Black, you don't need to be in my Black business. And even more so, even if you're a woman, whatever I'm choosing to do, it doesn't involve you. You don't have to live with that decision. That's me. You don't have to live with whatever I'm doing. I do. So why somebody cares about what other people are doing with their bodies, I do not understand. And so my other thing is this. Somebody in my comments did address a baby isn't a part of a woman or some shit. I don't know. And I said, a baby can't survive without a woman up until a certain period of time. Regardless, the way that women are viewed, like legally, is like how men who make laws against women being able to have abortions is literally, you're just an incubator. So if you're just looking at me as an object, I'm just an incubator. But also this life can't live it can't live without me. It can't live outside of my body up until a certain period of time. And not only that, but I don't get to make the decision about what's happening to my body. I don't think so. Like, I think when you really start breaking down the conversation, I don't see it as a conversation. Nobody should be telling me what I'm doing with my body. Point blank, period. And if you're still not understanding it, you're too dense in the head to get it. I'll say it and break it down like this. I view abortion rights as a gateway law, okay, or gateway laws. Because think of it like gateway drugs. Like when we were younger and we would have like those drug programs like DARE or whatever I went through. I don't even know. DARE wasn't even around. I don't know. But you go and you learn about, like the idea is you start doing drugs and it leads you further down the road of like addiction and doing even harder drugs. I really don't even know what harder drugs mean. Anyways, but yeah. So it's like, maybe you start smoking weed and then that leads to coke, and then the coke leads to shrooms, and the shrooms leads to, heroin, and heroin ends up leading you to fentanyl or something, and that led you further down the road because you started doing that one thing. Abortion rights and the laws that come with it are like a gateway law to me. I feel like the second you start telling a woman what they can and can't do with their bodies, it opens up like the gate to be able to question and tell people what they can and can't do about something else. We always talk about how America is like this place where, you can do whatever you want, and it's freedom of speech, and it's freedom of press, and it's freedom of da-da-da-da-da-da. But then we're actively policing what women can and can't do with their bodies. We're actively policing who people can marry. We're actively policing these things. So it's like, how great is the country really if we're not able to have that freedom that you guys said we had? And so when you think about it like that, again, it's like, right now you're saying women shouldn't be able to decide what they do with their bodies, which if you break this conversation down, that's the heart of the issue. They're disguising it as caring about babies, but really it's, we're going to take this right from you because we can. It feels like more of an exercise of power than it does actually caring about kids. Because if they actually cared about kids, they would be okay with women deciding whether or not what they do with their body and whether or not they have a kid or whether they don't. They would be like allowing that, because if a woman has a baby she doesn't want, that can lead to a lot more trauma than not having the baby at all. Like that kid will face a lot of emotional abuse and mental abuse that we won't even like be able to comprehend. Okay. And we never talk about the levels of that. Like, okay, well, maybe the woman does have the baby. Well, now the woman had the baby and she gave it up for adoption. People are always saying, just give it up for adoption. First of all, you have trauma. First of all, getting pregnant. Yeah. First of all, getting pregnant and having the baby has been described to me as close to death alive as you'll ever experience. Like, you don't know how your body's going to react, or like your body is definitely going to react to having a baby. It takes a lot of time to come back from that, first of all. And people like to pretend like that's not a thing. Like, I don't understand that. That's one. And then it's also like, okay, so then maybe they do give it up for adoption. But now maybe Ken and Janice at work knew that I was pregnant, and now they're asking me about the baby. And now more people are in my business and know about it than needs to be. Because now they're probably asking, oh, well, how's the baby? How's how are you back at work so soon? You don't need to know my business. And now they know my business. Now they know that I gave my baby up for adoption or something, even though it's not their business. They now know because I'm not talking about this baby, because I don't have this baby around. Now people know my business now. So I sat here, and not only did I have to make the decision to give my baby up because I wasn't maybe financially prepared, I wasn't stable, I didn't feel financially stable enough to do that. Maybe I want my kids to have their father around, and the child's father isn't going to be around and has said that, and I don't want to be a single mother right now. Like, for whatever reason that are completely 100% valid, that I don't want this baby, now other people are in my business. So that's two. Then the kid who grows up in foster care or gets adopted, like, whether or not, like, this is a commonly talked about situation, like, they wonder about their parents or their parent. Like, they wonder, well, why didn't they want to keep me? Like, they're asking that question maybe constantly, or that's a lot of trauma that happens in those years. Like, they're thinking about that all the time. Like, am I enough? Blah, 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 blah. And like, obviously, like, adoptive parents can give like a really great home. Like, they can be like the greatest parents to you and stuff. That doesn't stop you from like wondering, like, man, I wonder what my parents would be like. I wonder what they were like. Like, I wonder why, they didn't keep me. That doesn't stop those thoughts from coming into your mind. So now, like, that's like another thing that you can't undo, right? Then maybe a woman is married and has all the things together and she just wants to have a kid. And so she goes and she's like, oh, I'm going to have a kid. But she has an ectopic pregnancy. That literally kills women every single day. Like, that kills women. And it's like, oh, maybe they discovered it early on, but it's like, well, ma'am, you can't get an abortion because it's illegal. So now that's a health risk. These are things that I pointed out in my original video, but I guess nobody really gave a fuck about that because people just want to come in the comments and just prove that they're right all the time. And the problem with this conversation is that it's not a conversation, and it never is. It's always about proving to other people why they're wrong and you're right. And for me, again, I'm 100%, 1000% open to having conversations about stuff because I want to learn from other people and I want to understand other people's opinions of stuff because I'm all about understanding like as many views of a topic that I can. But a lot of people aren't into that. Like, I really worry about America because of that. Like, a lot of Americans just think everything's about me. And I think a lot of Americans honestly lack empathy for others. Like, they don't care. If it's not them, it doesn't matter. I haven't been in that situation, so who cares? And we're just, the way that people view Americans, like, sometimes they're on the nose. It's not everybody, but there are a lot of Americans, the brunt of them, that are like selfish. And it's like, if other people in other countries view us as selfish people, they're not wrong. Like, we never really look like or give that we care, that a lot of people never really look like or give that they care about other people or what other people have going on. Because if other people cared about like the world in general, some of the presidents that we've had wouldn't have been elected. But that's neither here nor there. Like, I guess for me, sometimes I just really get confused as to how you can say like, oh, like, I'm an American and I love America, but Trump 2024. So how are you like, I love America so much and I believe that, in justice and freedom and liberties, but you literally have a man who's being like convicted of multiple crimes in multiple states. And you're like, yep, that's the guy I want for president. And then people sit there and dead look at you like, and then they want you to take them seriously. Like, that you're contradicting yourself and you look stupid and incompetent, right? Like, you have to know that. And if you don't, like, I'm honestly really sorry that the education system failed you. But like, anyways, but a lot of things in America tend to get really divisive and dicey and hateful and nasty. And some of y'all need to do better. You just need to be better. I understand having your own opinions. Like, to me, pro-life, pro-choice, there's not really a conversation there. People should be allowed to do what they want to do when they want to do it. there's no argument there for me. Like, to me, there's no argument to be had. I understand why people are pro-life, and I understand why, I just understand why people would be pro-life. I understand that. I'm just saying that I'm not. And I respect your stance on that. And like, there's no reason that you can't respect mine. Like, but that's it. That's the only amount of time I'm going to give to that. We gave it a calm 14 minutes. So anywho, if you're one of the men who was in my comment section, I want you to know that you are the reasons that women hate men. Anywho, what I wanted to start this video off with, I wanted to start on a positive note. You know, there's this woman on TikTok, and her TikTok username is Beat Me in the Media Center, and she's a librarian or media specialist. I don't really know like what the correct terminology is. I know that you can't work in the media center unless you're a media specialist. So anyways, but at schools, yeah. But anyways, she's like a librarian, and she does book restorations on TikTok. And I don't know, like that, like her page, I got like one video the other day, or no, earlier today, and then I liked it, and then I ended up getting another video later on. And I was like, I really love seeing people who are like happy to do their jobs. Like, that is just so great. I really loved that. And then she goes and like, you know, there's like a step-by-step of how she fixes the books. And like, I love that. Like, I love when people like their jobs. Like, and she's just having a ball. Like, she's gonna be doing that until she gets really, really old. Like, and as she should. Like, you find a job you like, you got to keep pushing that. Like, you got to keep going. But people being happy at their jobs, that leads me to my next thing. I can finally take the glasses off. You know, I had to put the glasses on to, you know, really give serious. If you're watching the video version, I really appreciate you. If you're listening on Spotify, thank you for listening. But yeah, I am actually gonna try my best to like edit some things in. Maybe I get lazy usually when it's time to post it, so I can't 100% promise that that's gonna happen. But I'll do the best that I can. But speaking of people who are happy doing their jobs, I went on a work conference this week, and it was like my first time doing that, obviously, because it's like the first time I've ever had like an actual job that wasn't scooping chicken salad. So, you know, there's always that. But I went on this work conference, and first of all, we went to this restaurant like the first night. Our company put us in the Hilton, so it was like, yeah, turn up. But it was also in the sticks of Georgia, so you know. We were there, girl. We were there. Anyway, so I went, and well, me and my boss, we were hungry, obviously, and it was like dinner. So we got the company card, and we made our way on. There was slim pickings. First of all, those slim pickings. But we walked across the street to this like place, and it was like a hookah bar, hookah lounge, sort of, kind of, and also a bar, and they had food. And so, you know, we went in there, and I ordered the wings, the buffalo wings, and shrimp and grits. Okay, and I'm actually gonna add the picture in because I just think it's so funny. But the wings looked exactly how they look in that picture. They came to me cold, and the buffalo sauce, as you can see on the picture, hopefully, the sauce didn't make it on all the wings. The sauce actually didn't even make it completely on any of the wings. It was like somebody drizzled it over there. But that was actually some of the worst buffalo sauce I ever had in my life. And had you sat there and told me, like, had the chef come out and told me, like, oh, I just drizzled hot sauce on these, I would have believed him. I would have believed him 1000%, because those were honestly some of the worst wings I'd ever eaten. Like I said, they came out to me a little cold. They were fried. Like I probably could have eaten them plain. Like, and I wish I had known that the sauce was going to be bad so that I could have just eaten them plain. But I didn't know, and I just assumed that because there were a lot of Black people around that the food was just going to be bussin', and that's on me. Yeah, that's on me for making that assumption. I'm wrong for that. Anywho, but those wings were pretty bad. And then, you know, I ate them though. I I gulped them down. And then the shrimp and grits, the plate looked lovely. The shrimp and the saute, the vegetables with the onions and bell peppers, that looked great. It was well seasoned. But however, the grits though, wow, those were actually possibly some of the worst grits I've ever had. Truly. They could have done me better over at the Waffle House across the street. They could have. I actually regretted not choosing to eat at Waffle House. That's when you know it's bad. The grits were undercooked, and when I was eating them, like it was like they were still kind of hard. Girl, I don't know. And they needed salt real bad. And I don't mind having to fix up my grits. It was just like, girl, like I have to do all this and you seasoned the like shrimp and stuff, but you couldn't add salt to the grits. That was very upsetting to me. Anywho, so we end up getting the check. Our waitress comes back and she was like, "Oh, how was the food?" And my boss was like, she was like, "It was good. How was it? Was it good?" And she was like, "Well, no, actually." And then she listed off the reasons we didn't like the food. And I was just sitting over there trying not to laugh because honestly, had somebody told me that, had I been the waitress, I would have got up and cried. I'm going to leave. I'm going to be honest. I would have grabbed the plates and I would have walked away because one thing I'm not about to do is sit around and listen to your list of why you hated the food. Like, no, it could have never been me. But yeah, anywho, a couple of embarrassing things happened at this conference. So, we've discussed, I never really intentionally I didn't get this job and I went to school for like education. So like my job, I work with kids in an after school program, and we talk about sexual risk avoidance and stuff like that and do this like curriculum or whatever. And my boss, or no, not my boss. Yeah, my boss actually was like, "Yeah, I'm going to go to this conference. It's going to be really great." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So, I was like, I guess I'll go too because I wanted the hours. The conference is going to be from like 8 to 5, and I usually only work 5 hours. So I was like, let me go ahead and get this money. Like, let me get this extra little cash. So I did. And I told myself this year that I was going to try new things. And I was like, this is the perfect time for me to make good on that promise to myself to, go out there, try some new things. So, I go to the conference. It was business casual, I think. So, I had my little nice pants on. I wore my boots, my Docs, and I wore like a black sweater. And, we went in there, and they split us up into this little like family dinner thing. And so each table had like a color, and I was the green team. And it was really nice because it was like mostly Black women or just Black people in general. And that was really nice because, as I've said before on this podcast, like it's just really important for me to feel like, like comfortable in a space and everything. And usually I'm typically like shy around people that I don't know, but because it was like Black people and Black women, and I just ended up like, it really felt like a place where I could like learn, and like, because a lot of them were educators or had been educators before, or like work with kids in general. So it felt like there was like no judgment. And also I was super anxious at first. And so we had gone to this breakout session, and the one breakout session that I went to was about like programming and stuff. And so I ended up going back because we had like to meet again with our like groups in the same room. And we were in there, and I ended up talking to our team leader or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm just feeling kind of anxious because, like I've only been doing this for a couple months, and like it feels like everybody here is like seasoned veteran. Like most of the people have been teaching for years or have been like doing their job for like years now. And I was like, yeah, I'm just feeling like a little anxious. And she was kind of like just reminded me that, like we're all here to learn, and like it doesn't matter if you've been doing this for a couple of months, you've been doing this for 4 years or 40 years or whatever. Like we all have things to learn, and we can all learn from each other. And it was just like really nice to be reminded of that, first of all. And I was like, this is really cool. Like I really felt at home there, and everyone was just like so like comfortable, and I just really enjoyed it. Like, I was in there, I was giggling, and I had other people laughing, and I just was having such a great time. And there was actually this one thing that we had to do. We had to give this presentation at the end of it. It's like I had to do like a 4-minute presentation. And so like a bunch of people from the room like came and like circled around my like table with me and my group. And me and my group didn't know what we were doing. So I had to like, this woman who I had just met like 25 minutes before, like, because we ended up getting new groups. This wasn't like our family group that we had been like hanging out with and talking to all day. So we ended up in like different groups and stuff. And this woman, she was like, yeah, like we ended up like talking. We had like 25 minutes to complete the activity. And she was like, okay, like you have the gift of gab. Like you're going to have to go over there and present it. And I was like, me present it? Like, girl, I don't really have it, because we just didn't really have an idea. And we had to come up with like an activity that you would do with kids outside from like the age range like 5 to 9. And then you had to like add the learning curriculum, like the standards that they gave you in the envelope. It was like chopped. And so it was like about like decision making or something. So I said, oh, we could do like a would you rather game. And so at some point that ended up turning into stations, doesn't matter. But I won't get into the nitty gritty of it, but when it came time to present, they were like, you have it. Like, you're going to have to go over there and you're going to have to talk. And I was like, girl. So then, like most of the room like gets up and like comes to like look at this table. And like, I was like, okay, guys, like I was really hesitant about it, but I was like, you know what? Like, girl, we got 4 minutes. Like, I'm just going to have to put something together. Like, I'm just going to have to go over here and I'm just going to have to talk off the dome. And I am a professional bullshitter. I will say that. I know how to say the right things. Even unprepared, I'm just going to go up there and I'm just going to yap. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get a couple jokes off and I'm going to leave. And that's what I did. I was the only one in my little group who stood up. I was over there and I gave the presentation of a lifetime. I wish that I had the level of confidence that I had in that moment when I was in college, because there were a lot of presentations that I had to do where my voice was a little shaky, where I was a little nervous. And I was like, this is really crazy that I'm able to sit here and do this here. But like when I low-key needed it in the back of my life, like a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have been able to pull this off. But I got up there and I just started yapping. Like the camera started rolling. The person with the camera was like dead in front of me, started recording. And I was like, girl, that camera cut on and I was in there. I was just in there yapping. Okay. And I cooked. I was like, I really did my big one. I had people in there laughing, had people giggling, participating. I was like, wow, like I was really in there. And we went first because we were the last group to get up and like pick our number of what order we were going to be presenting in. And of course, the last number was the first one. So we were sick, but mostly me. I was sick because they left me. But yeah, I went in there and I did my thing and I was really proud of me. I was like, wow, I really ate that. Like that was probably the most proud of myself I've been in a minute, but I was really proud of me and I was like really happy. And so boom, that happened and I was really proud and I was like, I can't wait to tell the podcast about this, because I was in there. Like I was in there cooking. I was in there working hard. Now, on to the embarrassing part. If you're still here listening, I really appreciate you. Truly, I do. So, when as a queer woman, sometimes I go to places and I'm like, like I'm just bored. Like sometimes I'm just like, like, let's just see who's around, like, let's see if we can spot some of the gays. So, this is so funny to me. So I went to the conference and immediately, like the person who was like leading the conference, I was like, ooh. I was like, they're giving a little fruity. They're giving a little sugar in the tank. I was like, okay, turn up. And I was like, okay, like, let's just see. And like, as the day went on, I was like, yep, they're giving gay. That's what they're giving gay. And so from that moment on, at the beginning of the thing, I had developed a 10-hour crush within that time frame. I was like, yep, this is going to be my crush for the day. It's going to be great. So, throughout the day, like we would like, like see each other, like, like make eye contact or something. And then, the day would go on or whatever. So this is so sick to me. So we had like our first little like breakout session, and then we like came and had lunch, and then we had like I think we had another session, and then there was like another little tiny break in there. So around the room, they had these like different stations, and like some of them, there were like prompts on like those big pieces of papers, like that teachers use, of like those really big pieces of paper. So, one of the prompts on the questions was like, who would you want to have, like, who's a celebrity you want to have dinner with, right? And there was this woman who was in like a breakout session that I had been in earlier that day. She was actually in both of them, but like I worked with her in a group in the first one. So, like we like knew it, kind of like knew of each other. And then my 10-hour crush was like to the back of me, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm like trying to think of like who I'm going to put down on the paper, because, this was like a room of like a lot of Black women. So like the answers were like, they gave black. It was like Beyonce, Jay-Z, Michelle Obama, like it's like people like that. So I was sitting there and I was just standing there with the marker, and I was like, who am I gonna put? I was like, who am I gonna put? And like I was really blanking. Like my mind was like low key, like it was on, but like it wasn't though. Like this was after lunch. Like girl, I'm like low key, like I could do a nap. I could do like a 15-20 minute nap, but I was like, who am I going to put? And so I sat there and like thought about it for like, maybe like 20 seconds. And I opened that marker up and I wrote Dua Lipa. And I was like, yep, Dua Lipa. A white woman that everybody else had put Black people on. I was like, yep. It was very me coded. Like it was, if you know me, that was very Tori coded. So I was like, Dua Lipa, turn up. And then I put the marker cat back on, put it back on the wall, because it was like taped to the wall. And I was like, yep, great. And so then I was like about to leave, or like I had like turned my body to walk away. And I had clocked that old girl, my 10-hour crush, was behind me. And I was like, ooh. Like, okay, like I acknowledged it there, and then I was like gonna leave. But old girl who was next to me, who I had met previously, was standing next to me, and she was like, who'd you put? And I was like, oh, Dua Lipa. And she was like, oh, who's that? And then I was like, oh, like she's just a singer, like she's a singer I like. And she was like, oh, I was like, you probably know, I was like, she's a singer, and like she probably has and she's like, oh, I don't think I've ever heard of her. And I was like, yeah, she just actually was on the Grammys. Like she performed on the Grammys like 2 weeks ago. I was like, yeah, she's cool. She has a couple hits. You probably know of, you probably heard one or two of them. And she's like, oh, okay, can you sing me one? And I was like, girl, like in my head, I was thinking like, girl, are you cracked out? Are you cracked out right now? There's no way. I was like, girl, like I was really sitting there. Like I was low key speechless. I was like, I'm not really a girl who sings in public. I'm not really, which is true. I low key lied. I was also already, because again, 10-hour crush is like right there, right? And I know I was listening to the conversation, because that's literally what she said she does, and that she listens to the conversations while she's walking around. And I was like, oh, I don't really know. Like, I'm not really. She's like, oh, can you like say, you have like like some lyrics you could like just say to me, like just say them. You don't want to just sing them. I was like, I don't really sing in public, which is low key. Like that is true. I don't just sing for people, because that's weird. No, it's not weird. It's just not something I'm comfortable doing. And then also, girl, I don't know you. Secondly, that's should have been the first thing. Ma'am, do I know you? But I was like, oh no, I don't really sing in public. Again, low key, that was a lie, because I have like a TikTok page where I sing, but that's neither here nor there. Nobody else needs to know my business. But I was like, oh, I don't really sing. I'm not really one who sings in public and stuff. And she was like, no, like you want to like say some lyrics, like some lyrics. And I was like, like low key, I wanted the ground to open up and just swallow me. I wanted to actually disappear. So then my 10-hour crush pops up and was like, oh, I have my phone. I can look it up real quick. And I was like, yeah. So, she goes, She goes and types in the name, clicks the mix, you know what I'm saying? And the first one that comes up, New Rules, that one has like 3 billion views. And she was like, oh, wow, she got a lot of views, 3.8 billion, that's a lot. I was like, yeah, that was like one of her first hits. And, then, and then, New Rules like starts playing, right? And I'm like, yep, that's her. Yeah, I was like, she does more dance pop. More pop, more dance pop. But like I was saying that, like, I don't know if anybody else is chronically online, but like on TikTok right now, there's like that trending sound that's like from Real Housewives of Atlanta with the where Andy Cohen asks Sheree, like, oh, so what is She by Sheree doing next? And she was like, joggers. Yeah, joggers. And then he asked, like, oh, when they were going to be released. And she was like, more spring, summer. Yeah, more spring, summer, winter. Yeah. And that was like so funny to me. And so like in my head, like I'm sitting there and I'm like, ooh, like low-key embarrassed because like, first of all, why would you ask me to sing in the first place? That's one, I don't even know you like that. Two, you're trying to embarrass me in front of my 10-hour crush like that. And then I was like, oh, like this was honestly just an embarrassing experience. So I just had to, girl, after that, I was like, yeah, ha, 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 yeah, that's her, yeah. And then I had to walk away. And I was embarrassed. And like the thing about being embarrassed is that like for me, I had to stop getting so embarrassed so often because the only time I would really ever feel embarrassed is like if I did something, like dropped something, I don't know, in front of like strangers. And it's literally like, girl, you're never going to see these people again, so it doesn't really matter. So like low key, me being embarrassed was like, didn't really matter because I'm never going to see these people again. But also, it was kind of like, dang, girl, like my little 10-hour crush was right there, like right behind me. And here you go fucking my shit up. Like that upset me a bit. It did. I was like, girl, it really got a bit nasty there. But again, I'll never see these people again. So it's not that serious. But I was low key mad at old girl. And I made a TikTok about it. And I was like, low key, like I'm praying that like, somehow she sees that video and I want her to know like that she wronged me. I really do. I want her to know that she wronged me because she was honestly wrong as hell for that. Cause like, oh, will you sing some for me? Who the hell do you know goes and sings for a stranger at a work event? I don't think so. Because really, she was wrong for that because she really could have just gone home and maybe Googled it later. She really could have done that. She didn't have to ask me to do that. Like, it almost felt intentional. I don't know. I'm not liking that. Anywho, what else are we going to talk about today? Oh, I talked about my worst meal ever. Okay, worst meal of my life. You can strike that out. Let's see. Strike out. Oh, you know something that's funny? I saw this tweet the other day, and then I kind of just want you guys to like pretend like my friend's face isn't in the corner of this picture. Let me color it out real quick, actually. Oh, wow. The way that's... Oh. Okay, well, is it going to work now? And didn't. Yeah, you guys are going to have to pretend like his face isn't there. Maybe I'll cover it up. Yeah. So if you're watching the video version, you're getting exclusive content, kind of, sort of. So I love that his picture is still there anyways. So this was, girl, hold on, because I lost it. You know what? I can just show it like this. Okay. So this was the tweet. This was it. And it said, Tom Brady has accepted Gisele, like, his wife. I don't know how to pronounce her name. It's German. Anywho, but has accepted that Gisele romance with jiu-jitsu instructor began years ago. And then they had like a link to the thing. Mind you, this was page 6. So page 6 is honestly unreliable source a lot of the time. But somebody quoted that, like a white man, and he was like, you can be Tom Brady and she can still cheat. And that's where I was like, we need to have a discussion about something. Tom Brady, great athlete, I guess. Trump supporter. So didn't really care for that man. At the end of the day, though, we have to remember that Tom Brady was not at home. Okay? We need to remember the reports that were coming out. And I don't care when that lady was cheating. That man was not home. For many years, that man put football over his family, over his kids, over his wife, over his marriage. And then at the point, like, I think when he went to go sign with the Buccaneers initially, when he said that he was retiring the first time, she said, if you go back to football, I'm leaving you. I'm divorcing you. And he went and played football anyways. I understand loving something a lot. But the second I give you the ultimatum and then you choose the other thing and not me, well, yes, I was cheating. You weren't home. The thing about cheating sometimes is that, like, sometimes, like, okay, hold on. Because we actually don't know what that relationship looked like. She very well could have said that years ago. If you don't stop playing football and start and literally just start taking care of this family and coming home and being with your family and taking care of this marriage and, paying attention to me more than you're paying attention to football. Like, she could have said that multiple times. That could have been like a heavy argument that they had often. And it probably was. And we probably just didn't know about that or hear about that until he said he was retiring and then came back to play with the Buccaneers. Like, girl, I'm sorry. I'm not like defending that lady because I don't really know her and I'm not really one to defend a cheater, but there is a lot of like nuance here and there's a lot of gray area. Tom Brady wasn't home. He wasn't home. So it doesn't matter that he was Tom Brady. Oh, you can be Tom Brady and still get cheated on. Anybody can get cheated on, one. But two, that man clearly didn't care too much about that marriage in the first place. Otherwise, when she said, hey, if you pick that football up again, we're going to have problems. All she did was stand on business. And like, you could say like, oh, like if my partner really loved me, they wouldn't make me choose the thing I love in my family. Actually, they would. Like, especially if it's a situation like Tom Brady and Giselle's. Like, it's literally, you've put football and your career over me for many years. And at first, I was fine with it. For most of our marriage, I've been fine with it or whatever. But, like, you need to come home and take care of these kids. And if you're not going to come home and take care of these kids, well, I'm peacing out. Well, she told you what it was going to take for her to not leave you. She told you. You just didn't listen. You decided to do whatever you wanted to do. And then, so now what? And it's not even like Tom Brady said that. Like, he didn't. It's just like white men really be acting out. The man who like quoted that, like, you really thought you ate that and you didn't. Like, what allegiance did she have to that man after he basically like wasted a lot of her years away? Putting himself first. And moreover, why do women always have to be the people who give up something? Like, maybe she has stuff she wanted to do that she couldn't do because she had to take care of them kids. And had to be around for them kids because Tom ain't home. The husband's not home. So she could have been finding her a man who was at the house to help her take care of them kids and be the stepdaddy. But she didn't even get time to do that. Because she had to go on, I got to go to the game, support my husband, take care of the kid. Like, don't do too much on that lady. That lady ain't do nothing to you. That lady did not do nothing. Also, I do want to say I'm super excited that my Warriors basketball team has been winning. And I'm also want to say congrats to Steph Curry and Ayesha Curry. Oh my gosh. Baby number 4. As you should. As you should. Honestly, let's go for the 5th championship. Okay, let's also do that. Super happy for them, though. Hope the baby comes out healthy and all of the things. Really happy for them. Bless that family. Great family. Godly, strong, powerful. I'm rooting for that man and his wife, of course, and his family in general. Rooting for those black people. This Coca-Cola is so good. I wish Coca-Cola would sponsor me. Oh, hold on. Let me plug my computer in, you guys. Okay. I wish Coca-Cola would sponsor me. Like, I feel like I deserve it. I have been drinking Coke for so many years. And honestly, there might be Coca-Cola, like, actually in my veins. And I stole this from that conference. As I should. I made sure to go back over there and get me one and put it in my little bag. Anyways, the other topic on the list today is being a girl's girl. And if I'm going to be honest, I don't really know what that means. Like, I think I know what being a girl's girl means, but like, I don't think that I understand completely what that means, because to me, whenever people are talking about being a girl's girl, they're talking about people who aren't girls' girls, you know? Like, they'll be like, they'll be like, who's somebody, I think they said, oh yeah, Ariana Grande, she's not a girl's girl. Or they'll talk about, I don't really like have another example, so we'll just go with that one. But I love Ariana, and I think that I don't care about you being a girl's girl. Like, you're still one of the girls. Like, I love you. I love you, Ariana. Anyways, but a lot of people have been having conversations about people not being girls. And to me, if being a girl's girl means that you like are always there for your girl, to me, if you're talking about girls who aren't girls, that kind of immediately cancels out you being able to talk about being a girl's girl, doesn't it? Because if you're talking bad about another girl, well, then you're not a girl's girl. Like, really, like low key, if you're going to talk about, like, maybe I'm going through a hard time. Like, maybe Miss Grande is going through a hard time. Like, I'm not going to sit, again, gray area of cheating. We don't know that whole story. So I can't be one to sit there and sit back from afar and not know what went on and then sit here and say that she's a terrible person or that she's a homewrecker, she's the XYZ. I don't know that lady. I don't even think that everything needs to be like labeled all the time either, but I don't know that lady. And really low key, when you think about it, like home wreck, like when we talk about home wrecking, did the wrecker really wreck the home? Because if the home could be wrecked, was it ever really a home? Or was it just a rental? Was it just an apartment space? Was it just a house, not a home? You know the difference between a house and a home. Home has that nice family vibe feeling. You know, houses, just houses. I couldn't see myself settling down here and having a stable life, right? Exactly. I don't think, I'm going to be honest, I don't think if a home can be wrecked by anybody, again, I don't see it as a home. I don't. I think that we want to put these labels on women, but at the same time, it's kind of like if the woman like got with the husband in a relationship, okay, but he's the one who was in the relationship. Like, you were the one who was committed. So, like, why is that my fault? Like, I'm not saying I don't understand that, like, okay, well, if you knew that he was married or with somebody, like, you shouldn't have got with them. I'm not talking about that part. Like, okay, be that as it may. But still, like, that man being available to that woman and making that, like, a viable relationship, or even making her believe that a relationship would be possible, or like even if it's just a sexual relationship, making another woman believe that that's a possible thing while you're in a committed relationship and married or dating somebody for many years or for a couple of months or whatever. That's not the woman's fault. Again, I feel like men just keep getting away with stuff. They just get away with a lot of the blame. And like people will say like, oh, like I don't blame like Ariana, or no, they'll be like, I blame both of them or whatever. Okay, that's fine. But like, you're kind of definitely blaming Ariana more. Because like when you think about it, if you come on the internet and talk about the situation, you're mostly going to talk about that part of the situation. You're not really going to, like, yeah, people were talking about, like, oh, yeah, he left his wife and his kid. And again, we don't even know the full story there. But it's still, like, you're still, like, bringing up the fact that he left her for her. If that's how that happened and that's how you're deciding to see that situation. And I'm like, to me, I'm just a little confused as to what being a girl's girl is then, because I just feel like if you're going to talk about another girl, you're not really a girl's girl. Like a girl's girl would be understanding that sometimes the girls just do stuff. Like sometimes the girls go and make mistakes. Like sometimes the girls are going through like other stuff from past stuff in their life. And like maybe they're just going through something else. Like maybe they're just going through a real struggle right now. Like maybe they can't seem to like break the curse or the hold that a man has on them or that a situation has on them. Like even people talk about like, you know, like gossiping and like, oh, you're not a girl's girl because you gossip or something. I don't know. I'm sure that that's been a conversation had. Like, I just don't understand like how you talk about being a girl's girl, but then you talk about the girls not being girls. And to me, that doesn't give being a girl's girl. Like a girl's girl, again, would accept those girls for their flaws. Like women make mistakes too. Like women make wrong moves, yes. But like sometimes they just need like a little second to learn. What's wrong with that? Life is supposed to be about learning. Like, if anything, you should just know right now that I'm going to defend that lady. I'm going to offend that lady, Ariana Grande. And her new album is coming out in like a week. So if you want to go and listen to that and support it, you should do that. Like I said, one thing about me is I'm going to support that lady down. Like, you would think I have Ariana on speed dial. But I'm not allowing the allegations to have life to them. I'm not allowing it. Anywho, I'm trying to see if there's something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, wow. That was a good one. I had like a list of like notes that I wanted to talk about the abortion stuff, but I didn't like say all of those things, but it'll be fine. Anywho, I'm trying to think of something else I don't think I really have anything to say. Oh yeah, I did apply for this job for P&G, right? And it was as an operations analyst. And they were like, yeah, girl, it's a no. And I was like, ooh, oh, damn. One thing I didn't miss is like getting emails like that. Like also the way that like my work life is in shambles. And I'm going to be so honest. I can't wait for like a year and a half to pass so that I can like, and I leave this job so that I can finally like talk about this job, because honestly, I have a lot of things to say, but I just feel like I am not safe to do that at this time. And so I won't. And obviously I'm a professional as well. So I'm not going to go and just get rowdy off the cuff, but I will say I have some things to say about that their job, and when the time is right, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. Some people will be read for filth. Some people won't. Some people I will be declaring as delusional. Truth hurts. You know what I'm saying? Anywho. Oh, yeah. Somebody I've really been listening to a lot of music of, and like have been watching, like Tinashe. She's doing so great. Like, honestly, I liked Tinashe when she did like that song 2 On, because like it was really catchy and it was really a vibe. I was probably like, I want to say I was like 13. I want to say I was like 13 when that song came out in the video. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's a hit. Because it was like on this like, I think it was on like Teen Nick. They had like a countdown video thing that they did. And I think I saw the video on there for the first time. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love this song. And then I listened to it all the time. And then I never really listened to too much of Tinashe's music after that. And then like last year she released something. She released like an EP, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was called BB/Angel, but the E in Angel is a 3. Anyways, but I really enjoyed it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so catchy. Like Tinashe, like I get what people are saying. Like she's super talented. Like she sounds amazing. She actually dropped like a visual like performance of that EP the other day on YouTube, like 7 days ago, and it's really good. Like I just watched it today and I was like, wow, like she did her big one. But anywho, I ended up just like, I was wondering because she ended up doing like this Genius interview, and I was like, where people do like the lyrics, and she kept saying, like, referring to people like in like relationships and stuff that like she's like, she was talking about people and like not saying he, him. And I was like, oh, I was like, let me see, like, is Tinashe like she a little gay? Like, what's going on there? And then I Googled it, and then she's bi. And I was like, I knew I liked that lady. She kind of gives me, they're not the same people, obviously. They have different like styles and stuff. But Tinashe and Victoria Monet, like they give me those same like energy vibes. And I was like, and they're both bi, and I was like, this makes sense. I'm like, this makes sense. I knew I liked that lady, Tinashe. I knew I liked that lady. I knew that. Same way I was like, oh, I love Victoria Monet. And then I found out she dated Kehlani at one point. And I was like, ooh. And I love me some Kehlani. And I was like, this is exactly what I needed to hear. I was like, love that for them. That just makes me, it makes like, I feel like being queer, it's like when you find out that other like artists are queer or like an actor or something, it like makes you like them more, because then it's like, oh, like, I don't know, it just feels like really great representation. Like, it's like, I really liked you before. I thought you were super talented, super great. And then it's like, oh, wow. Now, like, I can kind of see myself in you, and this is really great. Not see myself in you in like a weird way, but like, I feel like there's representation there. And, you know, like, it's just really nice. And I'm like, yes. Keep doing what you do. Yes. And it's always the Black women. Love them down. Anywho, there was one last thing, I think. Or no, there's two things. If you haven't heard Saturn by SZA, you should definitely go listen to it. I love that song so much. I started listening to it like, obviously when it came out, I listened to it, and then I started listening to it a lot, like over the past few days. And I really love that song in the same way that I really love Good Days by SZA. And it kind of feels like that song is like Good Days' younger sibling, because it's like Good Days is so, to me, Good Days feels like, it just feels like it's like a really nice song, and like when you have headphones on, it really like, it feels like it's like a really full experience that you're getting from the song, and the lyrics feel like they're really telling a story, and they feel like you know, like like kind of like you're getting like an understanding of life. Like there are like some points in like my life where I've found or like felt like I just feel like I get it, like. And I don't really know how to explain that. Like, obviously, like, there are points when life is hard. Like, January was really rough for me for many reasons. But January was really rough for me. And then the beginning of February was a little rough, and it started to get a little bit better. But there are also, like, sometimes there are just days where, like, I think about my life and I think about the things that I've learned, and like, I feel like a lot of times when you put your life into perspective like that, or like you have days where you can put your life into perspective and think about like the things that you've learned, or like the people that you've met and the lessons that you've learned, it's like life kind of makes sense. And it's like, I understand why, you know, like the lows have to be low. I understand why, like we have like the really great moments, and I understand why there are the days where you just want to like reflect and think on things. I'm like, I get it. Like there are days like that where you're like, I get it. And because I get it and I want to understand it, I'm happy. Like I'm content with like life. And I understand that it's going to have its ups and downs. But like one thing life is always going to be is balanced. And when I listen to that song, it feels like that. It feels exactly like those moments where I'm like, wow, I'm grateful to just be here and alive, and to be able to learn from others, and to be able to live life and to enjoy it. And like, even when it is bad, like be able to like, be like, understand that like things are going to get better. Like I think, and again, that is a really hard thing to remember in hard moments, but that's something that's been helping me when I've had bad days is like, dang, or like not even bad days. Like my bad days aren't usually bad days. They're like bad weeks or like bad months or something. Not even bad, just hard. But it's kind of like when they are hard like that, like being reminded that there are days when things do get better and I'm going to be able to look back on this and know that I learned something, or I'm going to be able to look back on this and I'm going to have a lesson that I can share with other people who are going through the same thing, or I can come on the podcast and talk about it. Like they're like, it's like days like that where I'm like, I understand like what life is and I understand what it's supposed to be. And I'm happy to be in it and a part of it. And it's like stuff like that. But that song makes me feel that way. And in the same way that that song makes me feel that way, Saturn like kind of like reminds me of like those days where like I have like the big questions and I'm really asking myself and wondering like, am I doing the right things? Like, and really what I like about the song is that it talks about like, hold on, I actually need to look up the lyrics really quick. Guys, I hope I'm not losing you. Like if you're still listening, you're so real. You're so real and I thank you and appreciate you. And if you want to like and subscribe, feel free to do that. I don't always come on here and talk about my political stances. I do, however, discuss them. And if that is a problem and you don't like hearing about other people's opinions, if they don't agree with you, then girl, maybe skip through it, or maybe I'm just not the girl for you. Who, I don't really know which one it is, but yeah. Anywho, there's not a lot of songs titled Saturn. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so let me click. There was this part in the song that I've really been eating up. Hold on. It's about, here it is. It's like, if karma's really real, how am I still here? Just seems so unfair. I could be wrong though. If there's a point to being good, then where's my reward? The good die young and poor. I gave it all I could. What I really like there is really like that element of like, again, like this song just kind of feels like those days where like you're questioning like, oh, like life, like why does it have to be this hard? Why does it have to be like this? Like, and like you're kind of like, or even like those days where it's like I feel like I do everything that I'm supposed to do. Like I make ethical decisions and I do the things that feel like they're right, and I do the things that are supposed to give me like good karma. Like I do the good things and I feel like I'm not getting like the benefits. I'm not getting the rewards. I'm not getting, like I'm not getting I'm not getting the stuff back. And then, so it's like, there's that. And then there's also like the part about like the good die young and poor. I can't really explain why that line is so great, but a lot of times the good people out there in the world, that's basically sums it up. It's not necessarily that everybody who's good dies young, but like a lot of times, like you give a lot, I think. And like life doesn't always necessarily, just because you give a lot means that you get a lot back. Like if you're not willing to see that you've gotten something, or like if you're not willing to see that what you got from life was worthy, and why it was worthy to you. But yeah, I really love that song. But like I said, it feels like more of like a younger like it feels like a younger, naive like sister of like Good Days, because Good Days is like, oh, you're like talking about like kind of like the highs of lives, like, you know, at some point I'm going to be having good days, like, you know, like it feels more positive to me. At least I think it is. To me, that's how I viewed the song. I've always viewed the song as like just hoping that things are going to be better, and not even just hoping, but knowing that things are going to be better, and that like good days are ahead. Like no matter what I'm going through, like there's going to be days where it's good, things are better. And then whereas Saturn is just like, it's kind of like the non-optimistic version. So like, gosh, like I wish there was like a way to kind of like, just like really like just confusion of like what life is supposed to be, what the world is, and like how like tiring like the voice in your head can be when you are having like confusing thoughts, or like you're going through like a rough patch in a relationship, or like you're having a rough time, a rough go at it at life and stuff like that. But yeah. Wow. Somebody actually said that she also describes how life is a pattern to her. And I was like, wow. I just really like that song. So if you haven't heard it, you should definitely go check it out. I'm trying to think of other. Oh, yeah. Like I said, Ariana's album's coming out. I think a lot of good music is coming out this year. And I will say this. A lot of people I've seen on Twitter have been complaining about a bunch of people who are dropping music. I think a lot of my favorite artists are dropping music this year, and I'm really excited about it because I've been waiting for music from some of them for like 6 years. And then there are some people who have been waiting for like, I think the last album she released was in 2020 or 2021. So like I've probably been waiting 3 or 4 years from this other artist I really like. Ariana, I think, has been about 3 years as well. But yeah, a lot of people are dropping music this year, and I'm super excited because it kind of feels like early 2010s, like back when people would be like dropping albums like all the time, like big artists would be dropping albums a lot. Dua Lipa's coming out with an album. And I'm just really excited because I just love music, and it's not that I'm like, people have been releasing music. It's just like, there are some artists who are like super duper consistent. Like, I know people don't like Chris Brown, but one thing Chris Brown's always going to do is drop an album. Like, and it's going to be a lot of music, and people say that it sounds the same, but they don't. But I just like, there are some artists who have just been releasing like all the time back to back, and I feel like a lot of hip hop artists and even like R&B artists to a certain extent often like release music, or at least they're like always, at least dropping like a song here or there. And there are a lot of like more like the pop stuff has kind of just not really been like, there haven't been too many like big pop artists dropping music and stuff over the past few years. So I'm actually really glad that there's going to be a lot of albums this year. And a lot of people were complaining on the internet, and especially on Twitter, about how, like everybody's dropping music this year and we're not going to have anything for 2025 and XYZ. And I was low key like, girl, I do not care about that at all. Like, I just want the music. Like, some of y'all need to learn how to sit back and shut up and enjoy the music, girl. Sit back and shut up. And if the award season this year is like tight and like we're just like, I don't know who I want to win, that's good. Like, I think it's better for music when it's like, dang, I don't know who I want to win. I want them to win, and I want them to win, and I want them to win. Like, to me, it makes a lot more sense for me to want the artist for the categories to be super duper competitive more than I want them to like, oh, there's a clear-cut winner that I want here and that they deserve to win. Like, to me, that's not fun. Like, I want, like, when it comes to awards, like, I want it to really be like it was by the skin of somebody's teeth that they won, because there was like they were up against so many great pieces of art. And I'm not saying that in the past few years that people's art hasn't been great, but for the most part, there have been like maybe 2 or 3 artists, 2 or 3 albums that have kind of just been like, we know for a fact that's getting nominated for something. And this year it's going to be different. Like, it's going to be like, oh, I don't know if it's going to get it. It deserves to get it, but there might be like 5 other people who get that nomination instead. Like, I'm excited for that. So yeah. And also excited for SZA releasing, I think she might be releasing, oh my gosh, she might be releasing, I think she's releasing a new album or like EP or something. I don't know, but it's going to be like, I think it's a deluxe of SOS, but like, I don't know. I'm confused. So I guess we'll see, but I am super excited for the stuff that's coming this year. But yeah, that's it for this week's episode. I am going to close it. It's been like an hour and 8 minutes. So I know it's going to take forever for it to sync to my iCloud. So I'm going to go ahead and end it now. But I do want to thank you guys for listening. If you want to follow me on TikTok and see what random stuff I'm blabbering about throughout the week, it's in the link tree in the description. I am going to start adding chapters to these episodes so that you can kind of like know where I'm talking about things. And so if people want to just click in for like a couple things here and there, I can just tap on that and talk about it. Again, I don't always talk about my political beliefs 100% all the time on this podcast. However, to me, at least more recently in the past few years, since the Trump presidency, I think that politics it didn't used to be like I would judge people based on what their beliefs were politically. However, I feel like a lot of like moral beliefs and ethical stuff has become like a topic of political discussion. So it's kind of hard. It's a lot harder now, I think, to remove like how I view other people morally separately from their politics, because a lot of times the politics actually heavily aligns itself with like ethical and moral, like with ethics and morality. So yeah, I don't always talk about that, but when I feel like it, I do. And if that's a problem, you don't have to listen, you don't have to watch. But yeah, again, thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. I'll be back next week. I don't know when the video version will be up. Hopefully it'll just know it'll be up Saturday. And if it's not up like by like Saturday at like noon or like early, just know it'll be there on a Saturday at some time. Typically no later than 5. But yeah, this episode will be up. And again, thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. I'll catch you guys next week. Bye.